Welcome to CRM Audio Live. We are here and we are not at the Microsoft Business Application Summit. So this is the Not the Microsoft Business Application Summit podcast. I'm Joel Lindstrom. Ulrik, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, I'm Ulrik Carlsson, probably better known as CRM Chat Guy from my blog and Twitter handle. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Megan?
Hi, I'm Megan Walker from meganvwalker.com. Yeah, that's it.
What's your
Andrew?
Nickname? Say again?
What's your nickname?
Oh,
you have an unofficial nickname. You gotta add that.
Emoji Megs. But it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll go with it.
That's what you're famous for, right? Emojis in Dynamics.
Yeah. I made it up. I created it myself, yeah.
And how about you, Andrew?
Hey, everyone. I'm Andrew Bibby. I'm an MVP from the UK. And I've been doing Dynamics for a long time, 12 years, I think.
Wow. That's as long as me.
Yeah. I remember reading your blogs a very long time ago.
All right, great. And do you have a nickname, Andrew?
Other than the obvious, which is Bibs. I get that from some people. That's like my school nickname.
All right, so we are not at the Business Application Summit. Anybody watch the keynote via the live stream?
I watched a little bit.
Yeah,
I kind of had it on here as I was working this morning and saw about half of it. So I saw a bit of the new fancier version of the digital feedback loop. It looked pretty cool. I saw some of the new demos. Obviously, the demos always look great. Saw a couple of new features. At least one specifically new feature that I picked up on was the ability to transcribe handwritten notes into text and to-do lists inside Dynamics, which seemed pretty cool.
Ooh.
So it's one of those features that looks great. It demoed great, but I would like to get my hands on it before I get too excited about it. And then
hopefully it can read my handwriting better than my Surface can.
I know. I remember my Surface and OneNote. It never was able to read my handwriting. So I don't know if that was my problem or a Surface issue.
Yeah, it's my messy handwriting is my problem. All right, so the big news is the release notes are now out. I'm sharing them on the screen here. So has everybody downloaded them?
Yeah,
of course.
Okay. So there's two documents. One of them is the Dynamics 365 release notes. One of them is the Power Platform release notes. Which one should we download?
Well, I went for straight for Dynamics. Even
That's
though
funny. I went straight for the Power Platform.
Am I the tie?
So, yeah, you're the tie. So first thing is it's kind of a trick question because the Dynamics one includes the Power Platform. So you get the CDS and Power Platform updates when you download the Dynamics 365 one. So if you're in the Dynamics world, you'll get a much bigger document. It's, I believe, 347 pages long. All right, so let's go through. We're not going to read the whole thing, but let's just jump to the main sections of some of these and move it over to my other monitor here because, again, there's a lot of stuff in here. Does anybody besides me care about marketing?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, so the head for the marketing is, okay, A/B testing. That's big because that's one of the things that you haven't had the ability to say test multiple messages, and this is something Click Dimensions and others have had for a long time. So that's one of the big things.
That's a must-have.
It's absolutely huge. I used to run a marketing department, and that is huge. Without that, it's it's a must. Very
and
cool.
it's one of those where you're a little surprised that it wasn't already in there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Surprised? Yeah.
And the customer insights integration is something that, frankly, I thought was already there because it was one of the things when it was in preview was there initially. That is, you're using customer insights to build segments or smart segments, including other sources of data than Dynamics, you can now use those to trigger customer journeys. So that's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good.
And to me, that gives
data, etc.
Right. That may be a little bit of a game changer in that compared to some other platforms. It gives Dynamics 365 for Marketing more intelligent list building.
Right. And if they kept a lot of the custom insights features there, where it does the fuzzy matching and actually maps up all your contacts automatically to your other sources, and does like name recognition. So if somebody's like spelled William Anderson in one place and Bill Anderson or B Anderson or whatever it might be, those variations it'll actually be able to match up and put into one profile. But it's a soft link. It's not a hard link in Customer Insights. So if it gets more information, it'll update those. So it'll actually make that whole aggregation of the data much easier. So you can start basically plug in your sources, and after that process is run, you'll be able to start using your data and get additional insights out of it.
Right. So Ulrik, the question I have then is, and I have this conversation all the time with people when we're talking MDM. Customer Insights isn't really an MDM tool. It's more of a data enrichment tool that can take data from multiple sources and present it in one thing, do fuzzy matching, cleansing, as it says here. But here's my question is, so if you have, say, Salesforce, the Salesforce connector to Customer Insights, and using that to build a list for Dynamics 365 for Marketing, that would tell me that would then be creating contacts inside of Dynamics, because that's D365 for Marketing is Common Data Service based, and it uses contacts for lists. So does that mean that when you have a segment coming from Customer Insights, it would almost mean you would have to create those contacts inside the CDS?
That's a good question. I don't know the full answer to that. I don't think you have to, because you could actually view all your analytics and statistics inside Customer Insights itself. You don't have to do that from Dynamics. So you can actually log into Customer Insights and have your own panels and dashboards and individual dashboards and profiles. You can look at those in there, which would be those visuals that you often see are the ones that are for an individual profile are often the same ones that are embedded onto the Dynamics forms. So
okay.
you'll see a lot of the similar things, but you don't necessarily have to put it inside Dynamics. You can view all of those details inside Custom Insights. So I don't think you have to create all those additional contacts unless you want to, for some other reason, you want to start interacting with them.
Okay.
Because I know there could be some license issues there around marketing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to visualize, though, if you had somebody in a segment in Customer Insights, and then you had a kind of a customer journey that had multiple steps or a series of customer journeys. I know that some of this history is stored inside of Customer Insights, so it would seem like something would need to be stored in there. But you're right, maybe not.
Right.
Okay. Anybody want to say anything else about the other marketing steps that were announced, marketing features that were announced?
No, I'm just glad that they're carrying on and adding in really valuable, relevant features for someone in marketing. Because, like I said, when it first came out, it's like, so it's not surprising that a lot of things were necessarily missing. But the fact that they're still investing so heavily in it is massive. So that's huge.
I think it says something that it comes first in the release wave. It was that way in the April release as well.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's not first alphabetically. So
yeah,
customer service would come before marketing. So it says something that they're committed to it. And we're seeing it going from a product that nobody wanted to even talk about to something where I've got multiple projects rolling it out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a better sort of joined up story for it now. And it's great, like you say, Megan, it's great that there's this investment in it and just bringing it up to being a much better quality tool. And it's not something that, they're going to release, as we've seen in the past, just release a version and then that kind of dies a slow death, like voice of the customer.
And something that it's not, I hate to say it, but it's not an embarrassment to when somebody brings it up to you from a client perspective. You're like, no, I'd stay away from it. And I hated having to say those words to somebody about a Microsoft solution. But at the same time, I'm like, no, we're not going down that path because it's not a safe path to go down. And now it is. Now it's viable.
Right. So this is the other big feature that is in marketing, in my opinion, that fixes one of the other main gaps. The two gaps that I had with Dynamics for 365 marketing, or the main gaps, were no A/B testing and no ability to send a one-off email. And the reality is, not everything fits inside of a campaign. Sometimes you just want to send something, or you want to give a salesperson the ability to send a pretty email to one person. Yeah, maybe you want to send just Ulrik with something and send him a message. The fact that currently everything has to be sent in the context of a customer journey campaign was a gap. And so now that we'll be able to do a quick send and just send off a quick blast to a target audience or even a single person without having to have them trigger a campaign is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It takes in my opinion, was... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say my only sort of frustration is obviously that this is going to GA in December, and some of the other things that are coming out, it's still maybe 6 or 9 months away before we get some of this stuff, which are the more sort of mature features that make it a more convincing sell. So it's great that we're hearing about this stuff now, and it's obviously coming, but it doesn't really help us right now. No,
it doesn't help you if it's somebody who wants to do it. I guess you could say, cheer up, it's coming.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do in the UK. Cheer up, it's coming.
Lip.
Tally ho.
Okay.
No, it is. It's good.
Let's move on to sales. So there's a lot of different things in sales. I'm just going to flat out say it. My favorite one is this business card scanner. Business card scanning. Well, no, hear me out here. There's not the most impressive feature, but it's the thing that everybody wants. Everybody that gets business cards. It hardly a week goes by where somebody doesn't say, "What about business card scanning?" And I've built Power Apps that do it. There's third parties that do it. But that's something that is going to dramatically improve certain people's lives day one. I'm just saying, that's my favorite one.
For me, so I lived in the US for 14 years, and I can say from a US perspective, business cards are right. They are everywhere, more so I feel than maybe from a UK perspective. So I can see from the US, yes. I don't know how much, Andy, I don't know what you think. I don't know how much from the UK, who is giving business cards out.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I very, very rarely get or give business cards these days, and probably haven't for years. And that's why I was a bit like, oh, really? Yeah, is that the feature you choose? Because there's lots of other sort of third-party options for this, and there's even one of the AI features that will do this now. So I think it's an interesting feature. It's useful. It's relevant. It's just not, in the UK at least, it's not going to blow my socks off.
I'll say I don't see business cards here in the States any longer either. I think it's very industry specific though.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure some of the former industries I've been in, like, you would come home from an event with a huge stack of business cards and you would buy a business card scan and everything, and they would help tremendously. But I hear this requirement come up every now and then too, and I recall LinkedIn in the app used to have a business card scan function, and they actually removed it like 3, 4, 5 years ago because I guess it just wasn't used all that much. So it wasn't worth having in the app. So it's interesting that it kind of resurfaced and people are now looking forward to a business card scheme.
All right. Well, I mean, as it says in the document, a top request by customers.
Yeah. There's lots of those.
Yeah, there's lots of top requests for customers.
I think in the same vein.
Composing emails is getting better.
Well, about time.
It's about time.
Top request.
Thanks.
Well, in the same vein as a very small feature that lots of people always ask about is customizing the opportunity close dialog. I think it's interesting that the customization of the case resolution dialog was announced, and then it's kind of gone away for a while, and I guess it's coming back in this release.
That was my question. They pulled the case one, and then they brought back they decided to roll it as opportunity. They should just make all dialogues configure.
Yeah, agreed.
I think when you look at this functionality, and it's basically customizing the quick create form, from what I can see, which makes perfect sense. I don't know why it's taking so long to get this stuff nailed. People have been asking for this.
A top request by consultants, then.
Yeah.
I think it's what closes deals for Microsoft, or what is it that maybe makes us lose deals to other people. A lot of it is the things that we see a lot of focus on, like the analytics and AI and the sexy features, if you will, where the dialogue when you close an opportunity or resolve a case is a big headache to real users, but it's not one that Microsoft is going to win or lose any deals on their fantastic opportunity close form.
No.
So that's why other things have kept bumping it off the list, probably.
Yeah, I think so. It just seems like it maybe isn't a huge amount of work compared to some other features. So I just, I think I remember this coming up on my first ever project. Why can't we do this? And then you just have to say it's a special feature of the product, and that you can't customize that.
Yeah. And just deal with it and live with it.
I'm sure a lot of us have created custom dialogues or.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to back all that out now.
Right.
Plus, the dialog boxes have been available in the solution editor for a while now to look at. We haven't really been able to do anything with them, but it looks like the system, at least on the back end, has been prepared for being able to change those.
Right. And they're also adding some features around the seeing what competitors are trending and what drives success to wins. I don't know what that really means, but adding some additional things to that.
It sounds good. I've never seen a huge. It's the sort of thing that makes a lot of sense to me. Recording loss reasons and competitors and things like that. But I've never seen it very well adopted.
I agree. I haven't either. I'm sure we all have, but I've worked with sales teams within organizations myself from a marketing perspective and helping the sales teams out. And it was always kind of like, oh yeah, we want to be able to track stuff, but then no one ever does. And it's like, guys, the tools are there for you. They're, you can track your competitors. You can, link the opportunities to competitors, all that good stuff. And never really seen anyone actually do it. So.
Yeah. I think once it's lost,
the other thing is you're kind of asking the salesperson to be honest there, and if they are losing the deal, they generally don't want to put in a ton of details about it, or they want to a lot of times choose a reason that doesn't make them look bad.
But don't you think that those same salespeople are the people that wouldn't put the opportunity in until they know that they've won it?
Probably.
Yeah.
Never happened.
What?
No.
Who would do such a thing?
Yeah. If I'm going to look bad, I don't want it to be visible. So, yeah.
So we're moving to customer service. How many of you have taken a look at the Omnichannel Engagement Hub preview?
Unfortunately, not yet. No, but from what I've heard, it sounds really awesome.
Yeah,
I've had a look around.
I've been in it. I think some things that I find just fantastic about it are the built-in chat capabilities. And even if you got somebody who uses Unified Service Desk, they don't have to switch. They could still use USD, but use the Omnichannel Engagement Hub within that. And so, there's a lot of interesting things. Any of the features that are coming out or were announced about customer service that are really exciting. The knowledge article enhancements are interesting to me. Automatic record creation enhancements, a lot of incremental changes.
That's not really blowing my mind. I really like Omnichannel, and I really like where it's going. I can sort of see the direction of it, and there's lots of functionality there already. And I think when you look at things like the sentiment analysis and the skills-based routing, that becomes really much more powerful in larger contact centers. It's a shame that that's taking a little while to come out, but because they've been talking about that for a while. But and the fact that it all works in a browser and you can hook into phone systems and everything else, I think it's got a lot of promise.
Yeah, skills-based routing is pretty huge, especially in some industries like insurance, where you have to license in a certain territory or state to sell insurance there. That's very helpful. Or you got people that have more advanced capabilities and simpler capabilities. The smart routing. The unified routing and queues is a big deal because. If you look at traditional implementations of customer service, the biggest challenge is they've got to maintain the queues in multiple systems. They've got the phone queue, maybe they use Genesis Pure Connect or Avaya or something like that. You can't manage your phone queues inside Dynamics, but then you've got your chat queue over here. And a lot of times, especially if they're skills-based or other types of things, it's a big pain. And as really reason why most deployments of CRM for customer service really aren't truly omni-channel, because you're managing multiple separate channels. Where the unified routing and queues, is going to give you the ability to have routing for multiple sources in the same place. So you can have the customer service hub and chat all managed from there. Now, what I don't know is telephony, because that's still the gap I see is, say you have a queue and Andrew's in that queue and he's out sick today. So we need to remove him from the queue or move somebody else into that queue. We still want, if you're doing phone and that, my understanding is that that's coming. It's based on your telephony provider adding in support for that.
Yeah. So that was something I was looking at for a customer I'm working with who is primarily phone-based. And back when they announced Omnichannel Engagement Hub last year, phone was a bit more prevalent, and then it kind of went away with the spring release, and now it's kind of slowly, I think, coming back in the picture. But like you say, it's going to be third-party providers. I think this is a great story that's starting to become really rich, where you start bringing in things like bots to handle very common requests, and they hand off to maybe a real chat agent, and that can hand off to actual phone call or a video chat. That starts to paint a really good picture, and particularly when you get the routing in, of a powerful suite. I guess you probably need to be a fairly big investor in this technology to get all of the value from it. So that'll be interesting to see, but it starts to become really quite compelling, I think.
The question I have is, what's the use case for CafeX now? Because the out-of-the-box chat is free with your customer service license. It will do things, or I don't know if it does the initial. It's preview right now, but what I understand is things like screen. What do you call it? Screen share or the co-browsing is going to be there. Yeah. Why would somebody pay for a chat provider compared to that one? The only thing I can think of is if you already have one, it's integrated with other systems, maybe. But that to me is, if you got customer service, I'm going to want to turn on Omnichannel Engagement Hub just to get the chat, even if I don't really need the agent desktop experience.
Yeah, and I think isn't the co-browsing extra with CafeX? Isn't that part not something that's kind of you pay? I think you pay extra for that part of it as well.
I believe so, and it's like CafeX is a fine platform, but it's expensive if you have a smaller medium-sized call center, and you're right. There are additional things you need to pay. So
I think this is absolutely huge. Yeah.
So just mention briefly what the knowledge management enhancements are. Some enhancements to the authoring process, and making the search better. And this is a big deal. So you can only filter currently on status and language. So it's going to increase the number of attributes that you can filter on.
Nice.
So I guess we'll just leave it at that. All right. So there's a couple things in here. F&O. Anybody want to say anything about F&O?
Nope.
Anybody want to say anything about field service, mixed reality? It's really cool.
It looks really cool. It is really cool. But mixed reality is not you see this augmented reality, mixed reality throughout the entire Microsoft platform. I know I saw some of the PowerPoint.
It's not just field service, right?
Yeah. Even the PowerPoint MVPs were talking about like the new augmented reality and mixed reality options too that you get in PowerPoint. So it's throughout all of Microsoft, not just Dynamics.
What do you think PowerPoint MVPs talk about when they get together? Like cool slide transitions and stuff?
So there was actually a PowerPoint MVP who was kind enough to pick me up at who got me a ride from the airport because wearing my MVP check. And I actually asked him that question, and he was laughing too about the whole PowerPoint MVP stuff. But I mean, a lot of the new features for them is like the AI on gauging, having a camera on the audience and gauging their interest, and a lot of the like AI features in terms of like adjusting the setup. So they give you all like these new layout templates depending on how you type it in. You get all these ideas for improved layout of what you're doing and auto translate features and so on.
Yeah, it's cool. PowerPoint has improved in a lot of the enhancements that they've made. So I use PowerPoint every day.
Right.
All right. So the AI features. Has anybody checked out the AI Builder preview yet?
No, not yet.
No.
I have looked at it. I haven't had a chance to play with it myself, but this one looks really interesting, and something that I'm definitely looking forward to playing with more. Especially now that, because this is an area where the AI builder comes in and like makes something really easy that used to be very difficult. Yeah. And we saw some of those same features come into the Power BI platform recently, where you had data flows and you actually had some of these similar AI builder functions where you could on your data set say I want to run like a binary prediction or something on your data set. In Power BI, it looks like all those features became premium only, so they would come at a fairly significant cost, especially for smaller businesses. Whereas the AI builder here on the Power Apps platform lets you engage with the data that you already have on your CDS platform. So you actually can skip the whole data flow step in order to make your data accessible to create these AI models. So I mean, there's definitely some really interesting stuff here, and makes it significantly easier for business professionals who are not AI experts, who doesn't want to open up Azure or Machine Learning Studio or anything like that, to create those type of AI models, whether that being like prediction or scoring or even like image analysis, image recognition, and so on. So huge potential there in the feature set. So that's definitely something.
So what's the cutoff there of what you would build with AI Builder versus what you get a data scientist to build in Azure?
Very good question, and I think we have to play around to figure it out. But I'm glad you asked. I actually have a session at the CMUG Summit coming up in Orlando with a data scientist, where we'll go head to head, figuring out specifically what that threshold is how far can you take the built-in stuff to when you need a data scientist and need to open up the machine learning studio and all that.
You extend what you build with the AI Builder in Machine Learning Studio?
I don't know if you can do that yet. You can in Power BI, but I don't know you can with the AI Builder.
Okay. I'm also interested in the Assistant Studio. I have not yet played with that. I played a little bit in Flow when it came out, but now it's been rebranded Assistant Studio, and that's the ability to build new relationship assistant cards without having to be a developer. When it originally came out, you could add relationship assistant cards on your own, but you had to be a developer and write it in code. Now it uses Flow. There's this thing called Assistant Studio, and that preview is out now as well. So add that to our list of things we got to do.
And be an expert in.
Yeah, I think that's opening that box there. We also got a lot of new features in AI for Sales and the relationship assistant cards, where you can get more settings, options on the cards that are being shown, what order they're being shown in, and so on. So, which I think is awesome, because that whole relationship assistant and the cards that are being shown was a little bit of a black box to me. Like, why would it show me the cards that it's showing me over others, for example? How are those prioritized? So now that you actually have a lot of settings and get some insights into how that's being set up, that's definitely something that's making me come more comfortable with the solution in terms of showing the right information at the right time. So I'm sure it's going to do the same to the customers once they see that.
I was going to say, I think that to me is one of those pieces of functionality that I think is awesome in terms of the cards, but because it's kind of like, well, there's so much stuff that isn't necessarily relevant that it gets overlooked because salespeople are like, psh, there's too much that's of no value to where they just ignore it.
How do you stop it from becoming too busy? Is my thought, because it's becoming, more things showing up there. I guess the good news is we have more control over what shows up, but now we can add additional ones. So I just had a project, actually it's going on right now, where we were thinking of how do we display product recommendations, next best product type information. And so when this became available, I thought, hey, this would be cool. But then I thought, number one, I don't want people to say, don't show me this card, because then they won't see the recommendation. And second thing is, if there's 4 or 5 other cards there, how do I make sure that they can see that? It seems like it's very useful, and I think it's actually going to outside of the Dynamics box as well. I think we'll see relationship cards like the assistant card showing up in other Microsoft products and services. But my concern is, how do you overload that? What notifications and recommendations should we put there versus someplace else?
Yeah, you really just want that 1 or 2 next best action. You really want just the one thing, that cross-sell product that you should be pointing the customer to, rather than 5 or 6 or more.
Yeah.
Right. And I was thinking about using it for record alerts as well. So you have a bank that has somebody has a fraud warning on their account, have that pop up there. But I decided to put that in a prominent area on the top of the form, just because I knew that if somebody wasn't looking at the relationship assistant, they could still then see that in big bold letters.
Yeah, I think it just each project, each client's going to be potentially completely different in terms of what's of most value, and then weighing up, should it be a card? It's important, but if it's something that's more of a security nature, or like you said, with a fraud issue, then that has to be more prominent, doesn't it? So that anyone that's ignoring the cards, they still get to see it. So I think each project is just going to be completely different. But the fact now that we have the choice and the ability, and I don't have to be a developer, win-win.
Yeah. So Megan, the question we want to know is, can we put emojis in those cards?
Well, if no one has tested it already, then I guess that's going to have to be my next thing.
There's a next blog post. Awesome.
Surely.
Once I finish with Forms Pro, then I'll move on to that.
One thing I really like about the cards and the relationship assistant feature is how, and we talk about this when we talk nobody tracks competitors and all that stuff, how those cards, along with the auto capture, for example, helps the users track relevant information in the system. You have an email that probably should be a case, create case, 1 button. You have a competitor that's mentioned for this opportunity, 1 click, add the competitor, or even do it automatically. Here's an email that might be relevant to track on this opportunity, 1 click, it's tracked on there. So there's a lot of, we can call them accelerators, make it really easy to make sure that all the correct information is tracked in the system, and you don't really have as much an excuse for saying, it's too difficult for me to go track this, etc. I think that's going to be a tremendous value in terms of data quality, and have everything up to date, all the reminders on, you have an estimated close date on this opportunity. I need to change that. I need to work on it, and have up to date quality data all the time. I think that's going to be a big help there with those cards.
So it's kind of different use cases where there's different value in different sort of scenarios, because this is going to be on mobile as well, right? This is bringing the assistant to mobile devices, so you can see if you're on the road, you're a salesperson, you're between appointments. Okay, what's the next thing I should be doing? Reminder to call this guy. I think that's value right away. And when I've shown that to customers, they've been really interested in that.
Right. Yeah,
if you do that, let's track it at the same time.
Notifications, data quality, all that stuff is really good for. This one, better privacy controls for who knows whom. I'm gotta wonder if this is driven by, I believe it was in the Netherlands or someplace where Microsoft was sued based on collection of metadata, and so now in Office they prop up a notification. Do you want us to track this stuff? So this is in line with that. I think that basically this graph stuff is cool, but the second thing people ask me after I show them who knows whom, or the relationship is relationship, whatever you call the thing with the up and down arrows, relationship health, is can I opt out of this? And so so now you already can opt out of it, but this is giving you more granular control over people being able to be anonymous if they want to be.
All right.
Which is important.
Should have been there from the beginning, right?
Exactly. Customer insights, anything you noticed there, Ulrik?
Not particularly in customer insights. I can just add here, I used to be super excited about customer insights. Not to say that I'm not excited about it any longer, but it doesn't have the place that it used to in terms of dynamics. It kind of got pushed to the side, where it's now this very advanced database where we can do all these analytics when using other sources. The whole area where I saw customer insights being used too was when for doing advanced analytics, etc., within the Dynamics platform. However, that's mostly taken over by Power BI and being able to embed Power BI inside the Dynamics application. So I don't see customer insights for Dynamics customers being as relevant as I thought maybe like a year or two ago. So I just wanted to mention that. However, if you do have all these disparate sources with customer data you need to put together, and not necessarily in a hard format, but as I mentioned with the social media, where we can infer relationships, soft relationships, and do aggregations on it, then customer insights is a great place to do that. But I think it has that external data component. That's when you want to have a look at it. So there's definitely some overlap with Power BI.
It's definitely muddier now that you got all these connectors with not only Power BI, Power Apps as well.
Right.
You can bring these data sources together. Maybe the tying it into marketing is going to add some excitement around it again. Mixed reality. Any thoughts on the mixed reality? There's even new mixed reality apps that are being announced at the Business Application Summit. I'm excited about this. I would love to work on a project that used it. I haven't worked on one yet. I don't know how many actual customers in the wild there are of the mixed reality apps yet. I see certain industries this is going to be really nice for.
I know we definitely see some interest on it. I don't believe anyone's pulled the trigger on it yet, but there's definitely interest in the HoloLens and remote assist specifically.
Yeah, it feels like they're really trying to build the market there rather than satisfy people crying out for this sort of technology. It feels fairly cutting edge. I don't know any customers that I deal with that would be interested in it, but it's financial services, so it's not building airplanes or servicing equipment or anything like that. Where I can see a use case for, I just it's not something that it seems like a solution looking for a problem at the moment.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I think we need to get our hands on the HoloLens too.
Yeah.
Right? The HoloLens 1 was just like this big monster. It's kind of more like a proof of concept. The HoloLens 2 looks pretty awesome, I must say. But we can't really get our hands on one yet. So, but I'm looking forward to it.
All I know for sure is mixed reality headsets or augmented AR headsets give me a headache. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So I tried one on at Build just to see, do they still give me a headache? And yes, they gave me a headache and made me feel sick. Okay. So Forms Pro. Megan, anything to say about Forms Pro?
Yes, if you haven't seen my series. Well, that was a good time to mute myself, wasn't it? I was going to say, if you haven't seen my series on it, I've been working quite closely with the product team and helping identify any issues, or not even just issues, but things that really the user is not going to find that journey effective. So how can we tweak things? How can we change things? So there's a lot of really, really cool stuff within it, and I'm seeing new things that have been kind of added in. So yeah, I think as
So
far as voice,
is there any announcement about the licensing for it? Is it going to be part of the core platform, or is it going to be an add-on license?
I haven't seen anything yet. Doesn't mean that there hasn't been anything out, because I haven't been able to see everything, and I don't know if something's coming out this week. Yeah, but I have not seen anything. And yeah, ideally for me, sorry.
Go on.
I was going to say, ideally for me, it would be part of another license that somebody already has, and not based on per survey or anything like that. But it remains to be seen. I think the hardest sell is going to be to have somebody that's used a free solution as voice of the customer, and then say, hey, now you got to pay, or now you've got a limit, now you've got something to where you actually need to be paying attention to how many people are filling out the survey. And for me, the purpose of getting, like, you want to get as much feedback as possible. Now, if it was something to where it's only on the surveys that are filled out, if they are going to do something transactional, that's a little bit different, because you could send out 100 surveys, and as we know, maybe you only get 10, 15% that are actually filled out. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but they could end up, if they're not careful, pricing themselves out of people actually wanting to use it.
Yeah, I think it's probably, again, I don't know anything, but I would suspect it's going to be part of the core license. I'm saying this because I've signed up for the preview. I didn't specify an environment, and I looked in my list of entities, and my survey entities were there. And so it would be really kind of awkward to turn those on, build apps and views around it, and then say, oh, you got to pay a license to use this.
Yep.
The solution got rolled out. It was one of those ones that got pushed out automatically, like LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So that just got pushed out, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or something. So I've been talking to the product team about licensing for this as well, and I think it's really hard to get a license that's going to work for everybody, other than it being free, and obviously there's resources that are required to run the surveys and everything else, and they have to pay for that stuff. But it's kind of make or break for me, the licensing on this. If they get it right, it'll be super popular. If they get it wrong, like how it went with the Dynamics marketing, then it might really stall the uptake of the product, which would be a real shame, because I really like it.
Yeah, agreed. I think they've got an amazing opportunity for this, because of the fact that you could use it because everything's going into CDS, and you're not just tied to be using it with customer engagement. So the potential is absolutely massive. But then you've got companies, you've got SurveyMonkey, you've got other companies that, when you look at their pricing model, it's actually relatively low, and there's no ties into the amount of surveys you can do, or the amount of feedback, or to a certain degree. So yeah, but let's hope that they get it right first time.
Yeah.
All right. So ideally, it would be free up to a certain amount of surveys.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Voice of the Customer is positioned as a customer service tool. Form is broader than that, because it's surveys, but you can also build just general forms. Like I'm looking at using it to bring like a contact us form on a website that then people fill out and then do this. That's where I would like it to see. It's kind of could be also an on-ramp for inbound marketing, where I think if I've thought of, like, instead of marketing landing pages where you just need a simple form on our website, do a Forms Pro form, and then have that trigger them to be involved in, added to a campaign or a customer journey.
Yeah, I think to me there are some sort of shortcomings with it, in terms of so your example there, being able to take the form and then embed it in a website, or use it as part of a landing page. because there's so much, still so much branding around it. There's only so much you can do with your theme, and then you've always got certain text that's at the bottom. It always shows that it's a Microsoft Forms survey. So from a marketing perspective, from a branding perspective, I'm only going to want to go so far to where then as a company, I don't want all of that stuff on my survey. So ideally, and to me, that's where I would look at taking a pricing structure. Is you get certain elements. Okay, if you want to go with free, you get X number of surveys, and it's all fully, still got all of the stuff on from Microsoft. If you want to pay extra, then you can have completely your own branding, not just creating a theme, but you get rid of any of the text that's related to Microsoft. You can set up and have your own domain and things like that. So I think there's a lot of potential they could take it even further.
Yeah, definitely. But it's a great start.
It's absolutely
a better experience than doing voice of the customer
surveys.
No. I shudder when I have somebody ask a question about.
Disagree. I loved it. If you knew how to do it right, it was a really good. It is a good tool. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm no. Conflicted. Don't get me wrong. I spoke about voice of the customer at many a user group.
Yeah.
It's just that whole UI of creating a survey.
Yeah, that's true.
So non-intuitive to most users. It's almost like the person. I sometimes wonder if the person who designed goals then turned around and designed voice of the customer, because it's the same kind of thing. If you select this, you get these fields. If you select that, you get these fields. Yeah. Same UI, a million fields. Nobody can figure it out.
You did so well on this. We'll give you this new project to complete.
Exactly. All right. So there's a lot of things in the CDS and Power Platform. We really need another episode to get into this. The one I wanted to call out because it's getting some attention is Power Apps Portal, where Power App makers can now create a powerful new type of experience, web portals. So what I don't know is this going to be just simply a Power App ported to a portal, or is this changing the Dynamics 365 portals in some ways? Is this the Dynamics 365 portals? Does anyone know?
Yeah, I don't know. My gut feel is that, so this is in private preview right now, isn't it? It's going to be public preview soon, but my gut feel is that it's still the underlying Dynamics portals, and that's kind of abstracted out, and the user experience for building is now in Power Apps.
So you see, they've got some screenshots of the maker experience. Doesn't really show making a portal. It shows a portal in the Power Apps maker experience, and it shows.
We saw a little bit of this when we went to Seattle a couple of months ago. It looks really promising because it's got that Power Apps user experience, same sort of controls in terms of configuring forms, and there is a new experience with portals. I've been dabbling with Dynamics portals for a couple of weeks. And there's a new user experience for that, and it kind of feels like that's going to be pulled out into Power Apps. And that'll be the user experience going forward. What that leaves the future of Dynamics portals, I don't really know.
Is that
but if you see the screenshot, it doesn't have the connectors or the options. So that was the question: is if I publish a Power App and you use it, you have to have access to those connectors. It looks like it's exposing a new kind of portal experience in the Power Apps maker and making it create a portal from the same place you would build your Power Apps.
It does look like it's along the lines of what Andy, what you're talking about in terms of that try out on new editor for the portal, which that to me was pushed out very prematurely to where you're like, oh, cool, a new editor, and you click on stuff and nothing's there. Like it just is still, waiting to be developed. But in terms of the layout of that screenshot, it's similar in terms of the layout. So maybe that's where it will be going.
Yeah, I guess, in this sort of rapid release world that we're in, and we're getting to see stuff that isn't quite as baked as you would expect. That's where I'm coming from, is that, they'll push it out and iterate on it and make it better and better. Where I think it's really, really powerful is that if you are building a portal that's pulling in data, not just from CDS and Dynamics is from other data sources as well. So if we get the Power Apps connectors, as you mentioned there, Joel, and you can pull data from your on-prem database or whatever, or services that are out there on the web, that starts to become really compelling, because that's a very low-code, no-code way of building a fairly rich portal where you're trying to integrate different systems. And I can see customers that have still got lots of on-prem stuff and they're trying to do this. It's lots of integration, development, and really expensive to do. If they could go down that route, that starts to become really good.
Yeah, I think too, it would be if you could some way leverage the expressions you have inside Canvas apps, and could have some similarity there too. Again, in the screenshot, I don't see any kind of expression window or anything. Maybe, again, just can't tell from the screenshot, but that would be where I see the story would really come along, that we'd have this story of building business applications for internal as well as then surfacing functionality external. And again, we have that, and putting it all under the Power Apps brand. I just got to wonder, how similar are they? And I guess we'll find out now that it's going into preview. But anyway, we've reached the end of our hour. This has been a lot of fun. We haven't gotten through everything. There's a lot of Power Platform and Common Data Service. So maybe we could do a follow-up episode to go through the rest.